I had a couple jobs before this job. I wasn't very good at any of them, to be honest with you. That's why whenever somebody asks me about comedy and they'll ask me what it takes to get into comedy, I say, well, you know, it helps if you can't do anything else. It's a big part of it. The first real job I had was in the hardware department at Sears. I was 18 years old. It was my first real job, and our biggest tool was me. I didn't know anything. I had no business selling power tools. I didn't know anything. In fact, I'll give you an example of how bad my product knowledge was. I actually thought Pete Moss was an employee. Apparently you guys don't know what it is either, I can tell. I found out later, in my defense, that Pete Moss was actually a lawn and garden product, and I was over in hardware, but I still should have known, but it just didn't put two and two together. And sure enough, a woman walks up to me. I can still picture this woman. This is 30 years ago, and this woman comes and says, "Where can I find Pete Moss?" And I'm like, I think he's off. I haven't heard Pete's name today. 30 years, she's probably still standing there like. Then I tried being a car salesman for a couple years. That's a good job if you have any self-esteem that you want to get rid of. I hated that job. I think you can tell how you feel about your job by how much money you spend on lottery tickets. I didn't like that job. I didn't like my boss either. And I was tempted to give my boss the old "take this job and shove it" speech. But I was quitting so I could try to be a comedian, and I was afraid if it didn't go well, then, you know, someday I'd have to give him the, hey, is there any chance you didn't shove that job yet? And if you did, how far up there is it? And is there any chance I can help you pull it out speech? Because I have a corkscrew. But that was almost about 21 years ago, and I've been doing stand-up ever since. It was tough in the beginning, but I'm so glad I stuck with it. Here's the reality. I never would have met my wife if I didn't stick with him. I was working on a cruise ship when my wife and I met, and she was a pirate. And cruise ships are actually a lot like this dry bar comedy, because you have to be clean. You have to be able to make people laugh without cursing and without being dirty. And I'll be honest with you, I live in New Jersey, right next to New York. I know a lot of comedians in the New York area, and they would love to play in a venue like this, but they can't, because, you know, they can't be funny without being dirty. And so they'll say things to me like, well, don't you care about your artistic freedom? And I'll say things like, no. Never really gave it much thought, to be honest with you. One guy actually said, what about freedom of speech? I said, look, I'm married. I gave that up a long time ago. By the way, my wife and I both talk a lot. It's 50-50. The problem I have with my wife when it comes to talking, my wife will cut me off when I start talking. And she'll go, I thought you were done. And I'll go, what part of, hey, you'll never believe what just happened? Makes it sound like I'm wrapping it up.
Local man robs Wendy's with alligator. We're the alligator boys now.
And the baby be sitting over the bank, she be going, Mom, Mom,